Hey Exile, here are my 5 top league starters for 3.20 the Forbidden Sanctum. You can find the links to the guides and also the PoBs in the description of this video. Alright, let's start the list with a Poison Blade Vortex Occultist. It's a very good mapper, for example for Blight, Expedition or Abysses, or anything that has narrow layouts or dense packs of monsters. And it can even be a good bosser if you put some investment into it, but definitely not expect to kill the uber bosses. There have been buffs and nerfs to the build. For example, we lost a part of Malediction, but Despair got a lot more better and Temporal Chains and Enfeebled too. So overall I think the build got much better in 3.20. I will release a video guide on this build in the next couple of days that will guide you through the whole leveling process, how you can start playing Poison PV as early as level 45ish without any specific gear requirements, and also how you can push it into the end game with minimum effort. Next up is a Vortex Cold Dot Trickster by raixorSchmaixor. This build is made for mapping and not for bossing, and when you walk into packs of mobs, as soon as your Vortex goes off, you are full life and ES, because Polymath makes you close to immortal while mapping. The mapping speed of the build is really satisfying as you will rush maps in the blink of an eye. If your soul can handle to push more than 2 buttons in a single build, then definitely consider this build for mapping. The video guide contains a full leveling walkthrough that is very handy and very detailed. But I feel that the final PoB could use a little bit more information. But if you don't have problems with that, it's a very nice build to follow. Okay, I know what you're thinking, but hear me out. Seismic Trap is a skill that is dominant in the meta for a very long time, and we all know that it's a very good bosser. But if you're pursuing some kind of bossing strategy in the very early days of a league, it's very important to have the fastest and strongest build to abuse non-inflated prices of boss drops. The skill itself didn't got buffed numerically in 3.20, but the bug fix to one of the poison masteries seemed to grant it roughly 20% more damage. With proper gear progression you can play the build up until uber bosses, and it's probably the cheapest and safest build to kill all of them consistently. The build from Banana Nana features a very rich notes section that provides multiple ways of leveling the build, step-by-step leveling trees and multiple breakpoints that guide you all the way into endgame.
You can get some poison dudes. No, we cannot. Perfect. There we go. That's fine.
The next build is a Wave of Conviction Ignite Elementalist. I know that the build got featured in my last League Starter compilation, but hey, the build hasn't received any major changes, it's still super easy to play and scale, and it will carry you a long way to get some fundings for your next projects. You can even use it to transition into Ruto's Vortex build or the EK Ignite Magic Find mapper that was very popular last league. The build itself is braindead to scale, and the above average defenses make it very forgiving. Another thing that makes it very noob friendly is that you only really have to keep an eye on your mana reservation, but other than that there are no complicated mechanics that distract you from just playing and enjoying the new league. If you enjoy simple builds that do well in both mapping and bossing scenarios, definitely consider playing this build. Last but not least, there is a Rain of Arrows Raider by Fuzzy Duckzy. Nowadays I find it very difficult to find a decent League Starter build that relies on bows, as the meta is usually dominated by spell skill gems or traps. This bow build is a pure mapper that can easily get you to 2 Void Stones on its own. The build is really just designed to get the Atlas clear and the first 2 Void Stones, and then transition into another build like Lightning Arrow, Tornado Shot or Frostblades. I like that the PoB is very detailed, with leveling trees and skill sets for every single act, and therefore easy to follow. I recommend this build to anyone who needs a fast character for his money making strategy, who wants to farm open layouts, or who simply enjoys bow builds. There are many more builds that are perfectly viable for League starting 3.20 with, like Corrupting Fever, Champ, DD Necromancer, Righteous Fire, Spark Inquisitor, Artillery Ballista, and so on. And if you do like them better, go for them. But if you prefer to be guided through the whole leveling process, better pick one of my recommendations. Happy hunting, Exile, and see you in the next one!